Hello, everybody. Welcome to StraightA. Dawson here.
StraightA here.
In here.
Ben actually speaks for one of those. Oh my gosh,
That's two in a row.
dude.
That's
Right?
two in a
Been
row.
here. I've been here.
Been here. You've been doing it, even without Greg too. What a time to be alive. We are here with another video, just the three of us still, with basically like a who would you take QB edition. We'll go through two QBs that I chose out, and these boys don't know them and don't know the QBs that they're being compared to, and we're just gonna give a thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll probably do it with a couple different stipulations. I don't know. I was thinking more like you have one season to win the Super Bowl more than a franchise, just because younger QBs have a distinct advantage if you go by franchise. So we'll probably go like that route. But before we get started, before I choke on some food I just had, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment any suggestions for any videos in the future. Now we'll get right on to it. Who do you two think are one of the QBs? Do y'all have any idea?
Now, this isn't fight to the death now, is it?
No, this isn't fight to the death. This is if you had one season. Oh, you are muted, Ben. You have one season to win the Super Bowl.
I saw that. I was like, I have no clue, dude. Could be Patty and Brady, or could be Bridgewater and
Is this
Daniel
all
Jones.
time or just current?
This is current.
Oh.
These are two QBs, I believe, that took a big step forward. That maybe we should put them in conversations. Maybe near the top, maybe near the middle. What? I don't know.
All right, let's see it.
All right, first one. The first round is someone who's very unique. Someone who I don't think a lot of people expected to be really as good as he was. We have Jordan Love. So this whole edition will be, who will you take, Jordan Love or blank? You have 1 year to win the Super Bowl. You can take, I don't know, the team I was kind of comparing it in my mind to is like you have a Falcons type roster, maybe with one more receiver, a couple more offensive line pieces, defensive line pieces. But either way, like a team like that. And you have 1 year to win the Super Bowl. Who are you going to take in just 1 year? Otherwise, you're fired. So we'll get right into it, and we'll go to the first person. I thought this was kind of appropriate. I don't know. I felt like Bryce Young would be a nice starting point and kind of gauge where y'all kind of appreciate both of these quarterbacks. So initially, we're just all going to give a thumbs up, thumbs down, and if y'all want to include any kind of thought to it, then we'll go from there. But so basically, thumbs up will mean Jordan Love, and thumbs down basically means you take Bryce Young. All right. 3, 2, 1. Some Bryce Young haters we are.
No, it's not that
It's
I hate
nothing
Bryce.
against Bryce. It's just like Jordan has had like 4 years of development and practice behind Aaron Rodgers, and he showed that killer instinct. And we really didn't get to see much out of Bryce this year because, I mean, I get it. He didn't have a great season, but like that was not exactly his fault.
I think it was
In
more on
many
the coaching.
ways, the Panthers were atrocious.
No, I'd agree.
So,
I think Jordan Love is kind of
Kind of
more
by
NFL ready.
default. That's one that could be subject to change in a couple years if Bryce Young really jumps on the scene.
No, it's fair. I thought that was a nice little warm up just because I think Bryce Young just hasn't been developed enough yet. You know, he's just getting used to things. So we'll see. Next up, we have Derek Carr. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I kind of figured. Put some easy ones near the beginning just to kind of get us used to it. Derek Carr's just not the same if he ever really was any good. Don't know if I ever even take prime Derek Carr over Jordan Love, but shrug. Moving on. Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winner. You have 1 season to win. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I debated that, Ben. I've debated that. What's your initial
I
thought?
do too.
Well, I mean, Matthew has already went and won one. He's very seasoned. It's not like he's lost a lot of talent per se. I mean, he's just, he's a proven dog. He's going to go out there and put his life on the line and win. And I think that teams can really rally well around that. I think he's a great locker room guy. It's nothing necessarily against Love. It's just that, I mean, Stafford has been there and done it. And if I have a really talented roster, I'm probably going to trust Stafford a bit more. It's tight, though. It's tight.
My reasoning behind it was, so you got 1 season. If injuries are a factor, which assuming they are, Stafford's getting old. You got to worry about those injuries like we saw with Aaron Rodgers this year, like we saw some with Stafford. But my biggest thing was he did good in the Lions game, but Jordan Love went out and beat the Cowboys, and that's was one of the best defenses this year, and he put up crazy numbers against the Cowboys. And so I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to take Jordan Love over Stafford. And I know Stafford, like you were talking about, is that seasoned vet, but if you just got one season to win, I want the youthfulness, the escapability of Jordan Love over Matthew Stafford.
I think that's exactly my reasoning was. I think both of them can get you to the playoffs, and I would if Jordan Love didn't beat the Cowboys, I probably would pick Matthew Stafford just because obviously he's better in the playoffs. He's seen it before. Jordan Love proved that he can play in the postseason, so that's kind of why I'm leaning him. But I can definitely see the argument for Matthew Stafford. No disrespect to him at all. All right, next up, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield. I think that's a very interesting one. 3, 2, 1. Interesting. I just think Baker's a dog. I think Baker's just consistently good. Jordan Love he's got a lot more. His highs are way higher than Baker's, but his lows are way lower than Baker's. Now, granted, I will say Baker had like a rough little 4 to 6 week or 4 week stretch in the, near like the middle ish, like beginning middle of the season. Then he just got really really good, really really comfortable. And I think giving a full season now with a team, I think he's able to be that kind of guy. And now we've seen him in the postseason play really well. Even though he lost in the divisional, he could have easily won that game as well. I just think I would trust Baker, who has more of a veteran instinct on his head, I guess. He's seen the field a lot more with variety of teams. Again, this is a closer one for me, but I just think I lean the Baker's leadership than Jordan Love's explosiveness.
Yeah, no, see, I think that this one and the last one are two similar situations, but I mean, I think the difference here is that Baker isn't exactly great in crunch time important decisions, and he likes to do stupid things sometimes. Stafford wasn't really like that. And I don't really see Love as someone like that, despite the season-ending pick that was doomed from the start because they let San Fran walk down the field like they did. I also think that Baker was a little bit lifted by his team. I mean, you talk about Love's lows being low, but I mean, it's not like he exactly has a star-studded core around him or anything. Jaden Reed, Romeo Dubs, Luke. I mean, those are some young cats, and so I mean, quite the same as Godwin and Evans.
No, it's true. That's fair. Good point. Moving on. Got Tua. I think this is a very interesting one. I think this is when we start turning the heat up on the quarterback situation here. 3, 2, 1. Got Dolphins lover. Who would have thought? All right. What do you think?
No, it's not that I love the Dolphins. Tua I know Tua has an advantage over Love because, like we were talking about, Love's weapons, like Ben was talking about, and Tua has those crazy weapons in Tyreek, Waddle, Mostert. But first of all, I'm just going to say I'm left-handed, so left-handed guys got to stick together. But I just think Tua has looked so good the past few years, barring the concussions he had last year. But I mean, he looks phenomenal. Has fantastic accuracy, especially deep accuracy to hit Tyreek Hill on those deep post routes and stuff. And I feel like he's kind of smarter on ball than Jordan Love is, and so I would take Tua.
I think it's pretty easy no for me here. I know a lot of people like Tua, and I think he's fine. Like, I think he's a good quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and shit on him. I just think that he is too built into a Dolphins system, which is, I believe, one-dimensional, offensive one-dimensional. I talked about this in my head coach rankings, where I thought Mike McDaniel, I like him as a head coach. He's funny, he's cool, he's able to add personality to the team. He has a one-dimensional offense. I mean, they started kind of using other aspects of their team later in the season, a little too late. They have a really fast run game. They have a really fast 2 receivers, but if they can't get the ball into one of those 2 guys, it's over. At least with people like Baker, he can give it to his tight end. He can give it to his third wide receiver. I don't know. I just don't like Tua very much on any other system other than the Miami Dolphins. While I think Jordan Love is more dynamic and it could fit into any kind of more dynamic, more three dimensional offensive team. Any comments, Ben, or you just kind of?
Um, I mean, I just don't feel like Tua is like a clear cut winner. I don't feel like he has that just winnability with him. I feel like Love kind of exposed winnability a little bit this season. That's kind of where I sit at those two. It's not necessarily anything about the numbers. You can't really delve into the numbers. I see it more as a character thing. Whenever you come between these two, I don't see two as a hard nosed winner.
It's valid. It's valid. Either way, I think we're still decently close. It's kind of more of a preference thing, especially in your system. But moving on to now, Trevor Lawrence. This is one I struggle with a little bit, but I think I have an answer. 3, 2, 1. All right, Ben.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really like Trevor. I think he's a great leader of men. He's probably one of the best leaders, I think, as far as quarterbacks go in the league. Um, I think that that's something you have to have if you're going to lead a team to a game like this. I think he's definitely got it better than Jordan. Um, Trevor's arm talent is extremely good. I'm not really sure what the media coverage was about this year, but there was a lot of discreditation going along with Trevor this year, and I didn't really understand it because he was playing through a lot of injuries, really putting himself on the line and making things happen. And I know that there was a skid that probably taints the views of certain people at the end of this season, but I mean, at the same time, I don't really know that you can blame Trevor for that. I mean, he was hurt for part of that, and certain things happen internally in the locker room that you can't recover from, kind of like the Titans last year, where Todd Downing got that DUI, and no one really respected him in the locker room anymore after that, and that's coming from Taylor Lewan when he was talking on Bussin'. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that Trevor is just a really good leader, and he is one of the most talented passers out there. I mean, his accuracy is spot on, and he will put his body on the line. That's what I do like Trevor a lot.
I think Trevor's a deceptively physical QB. Not in terms of like his like how tall he is or something. Just like he's not afraid to like do like some crazy stuff out there. I think his one problem is turnover, especially this last season. But I think that was mostly just because of the system he was in. He was again putting his body on the line, and I think it's a kind of a pick him up year next year. I like Jordan Love, but again, I'd like the raw talent that Trevor has right now.
I think that Trevor Lawrence um, and Justin Herbert are kind of in the same boat right now. They're both in the same class. But other than that, like I think they're both great quarterbacks, have great arm talent, great pocket presence. They're just their schemes. And I know Lawrence has technically been more successful than Herbert has, if you count like where his team ends up every season. Like Herbert obviously was hurt some of this year, and they made the playoffs last year. Lawrence had a huge comeback. But yeah, I'm taking Lawrence over Love, just because, well, one, this was Jordan Love's first year starting, and Lawrence has been, starting since day one. And I think if Lawrence had a better scheme, that he would be a fantastic quarterback. He's already shown flashes.
I just thought about this. I think I gave a thumbs up for this one. But I was given like a thumbs up for Trevor,
Oh.
not Love. Like I was no that yeah. So that probably looked like it didn't make any sense whenever I was talking about it. And yeah, I just given a thumbs up. Yeah, no, that had to be put on the record that I was not picking Love. I was picking like Trevor.
It's okay, man. You realize you were wrong after we spoke, and you had to swap up before you got too deep. I got you. It's okay.
Yeah, I had to think about it because I started thinking about it. I was like, Ethan agrees with me and like what he's talking about, but they both put their thumbs the opposite way. And I was like, what? And I was like, hey,
We
it was
all love the
about
Prince.
love. And whatever.
But next up, how about the goofball? We had the Prince. Now we got the goofball.
Um,
3, 2, 1. Yeah, I feel like, and maybe you all kind of agree. I think Jared Goff is now finally developed into a QB you can go out there and trust, similar to a Kirk Cousins role, where if you absolutely, he's going to go out there and get the job done. He may not have the highest ceiling in the world, but right now, if you want him to have lead you a team to the playoffs, I think we can all kind of trust him in that regard. Any kind of thoughts on that, or just all right, cool. Move on to Justin Herbert. We brought up Justin Herbert just a second ago, but I feel like a lot of people rank Justin Herbert quite a bit higher than Lawrence, so I put him a little bit further ahead. So we'll see your thoughts. 3, 2, 1. Okay, similar thoughts there. I do have a second QB that we can kind of talk about these guys later on because I have the same ordering for the quarterback succession, but same kind of thoughts overall.
well, I think this is a lot closer than maybe some of the other ones. I don't see Herbert as a clutch kind of guy, real like winner type of guy. You know, I mean, I think he's good for the locker room, and I think he is a really talented quarterback. But there have definitely been times where he makes some bad reads, offensive line, and doesn't get the right coverage down, or just doesn't clutch up at the end of the game, and it's just like, you know, it's happened so many times now that it's like, how many times are the Chargers fans and Herbert defenders gonna sit here and defend him and say it's not his fault? Like, this has happened like 20 times over his career. Like, he's not a winner. He's not clutch. That's just what it is. But I would still take the talent or love.
You know, I'm still in the camp where I'm kind of giving the Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence treatment in terms of like I know how good people say they are, and we've seen that from them. And I think I'm thinking maybe it's the first round kind of bias you get because maybe Brock Purdy wouldn't receive that kind of leniency if he wasn't in the Super Bowl this year. But I'm still holding out that Justin Herbert's better than he seems. I like Justin Herbert from everything I've seen, but at the same time, every year it makes me doubt him a little bit more. I'm like, what are people seeing in him? Like, it feels like I see less and less each year, more than I see more and more. Now, granted, that's his team. Team is getting older. Team is getting more whack. Brandon Staley, blah blah. But again, like you said, at what point are people going to say it's Herbert's fault? I don't know. Just kind of a little take I have with it. I don't know if it's a hot take or anything, but next up though we got. Oh, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I really like Justin Herbert. Have since he entered the league, obviously being an Oregon quarterback. You know, when he won Rookie of the Year, I agree. I think that since that first year, I mean, he's not been bad, but he does make questionable reads. Still has a good pocket presence, though, a great leader. I think under the right system, Justin Herbert could flourish, like I said about Trevor Lawrence as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fair. That's fair. I do definitely see that. All right, but next up, I think is probably one of the best kind of older quarterbacks right now, Dak Prescott, especially coming off like one of his best seasons so far. 3, 2, 1. Really? You both will take Jordan Love over Dak Prescott for 1 year?
Yes, dude. It's like every year that Dak gets to the playoffs, he has this star-studded team, and he loses before the divisional round is over.
But Dak
Like
can,
he always has a terrible performance in the game they lose too. It's always on him. He screws it up.
he did
It's
not
the
lose.
curse of being a Cowboy.
He did not lose in that game.
I think his picks and fumbles say otherwise.
Uh,
I think his
Dude,
defense
he
didn't
took the
help
ball
him at
over-
all.
Garbage at the start of that game. I mean, like, sure, like they scored a bunch, you know, like in the second half, but I mean, at that point they were so far down. Green Bay's defense let off the gas. Like, they didn't care. I get like, well, he can't defend 55 points. Okay, okay. Well, you know, like not got stomped on in the first half of the game. Could have made it competitive. Tango. I just,
Okay. I know he had 2 picks. One of them was definitely in the second half because it was him throwing a Hail Mary. So I don't remember the circumstances of the first pick, to be honest with you. Was that like close to the goal line? Was that what happened?
oh, I have no clue. I don't remember.
Um, but like, and I know he had like 150 yards first half or something like that. I don't think that's unreasonable to put up in the first half, even especially with how bad his defense was doing. I don't know. I think Dak gets shit on too much, especially when he had an MVP type year. If it wasn't for Lamar rushing for as many yards as he did, and Christian McCaffrey having a career season for running backs, I feel like Dak probably should have won an MVP. Obviously, I do not think so because I think his last couple of games were not very good. I don't know. I think people shit on Dak too much. He's a team leader, and that was a shitty game. And you're right. It was a shitty game in the playoffs. But if I'm going to trust somebody, I'm going to trust the vet that's been to the playoffs many times more than Jordan Love, who went to the playoffs once. That's kind of how I look at it.
I mean, am I just don't trust him because Jordan Love has more playoff wins than he does, and Jordan Love has been to the playoffs once.
I have the same, don't they? Because Dak Prescott's won a couple playoff games.
He won one last year in the first round, and then
he won one this year. Or no, not this year. The year before.
I'm gonna say no. He lost his first round this year.
Not this year. The year before, I believe, because they made it to divisional, right?
That's what I was talking about. Last year he won one.
Well, the year before is what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's won twice.
Okay, well he's one game less, and Dak has this star-studded roster every year and can never pull his shit together for the playoffs.
In fairness, he is
never.
He is 2.
If I was going to have them for a regular season, then sure, pick Dak, but not for the playoffs. He never has it together ever.
My bad, by the way. It was 2019 that he won.
2019. Yeah. So he's got. I mean, still though, like, good lord.
No, you're right. That's fair. You're kind of swaying me a little bit, but I don't know. I see the talent that Dak Prescott has, and I know I have a guarantee with Dak Prescott. While Jordan Love, for all I know, next year he'll take a big dump off again.
Think that he's like not talented, like it's just doesn't get his shit together for playoffs. He always chokes.
That's valid.
Bro could probably have 5 Super Bowls if it only mattered about the regular season.
That's valid. That's fair.
Feels like soccer, yeah.
I mean,
do have one more QB, and I didn't really put any of the big star-studded QBs that we all would definitely say, like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. But I feel like one QB that's kind of was in that conversation last year that's maybe not as much anymore. Mr. Jalen Hurts. 3, 2, 1. I want you to know this is very hesitant. This is very, very hesitant.
No,
I still think Jalen
really bad.
Jalen Hurts put up excellent season, obviously last year, because that's when he became a big name, led the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But I mean, even this year at the start of the season, he was fantastic. Now the whole Eagles, not just Jalen Hurts, fell apart at the end of the season. Obviously, that absolutely embarrassing blowout to Tampa Bay. But I'm still taking Hurts over Love just because. Hurts has established himself. Like, this was Jordan Love's first year. We don't know if it was like a one-year wonder type thing. Hasn't really – he proved himself this year, but we got to see the consistency that we've seen from Jalen Hurts.
Ben?
Yeah, no, I think that I would need to have, like, another bad season from Hurts to below Love.
That's fair. I'm just hesitant about him. I don't know. I think the second half of the season he just looked awful compared. I don't know. It's hard when you have momentum against you. Obviously, I'd still take him, especially for one more year. But I don't know. I feel like Jordan Love in the foreseeable future could be better than Jalen Hurts. If you told me if you're starting a franchise tomorrow and you have 5 years to win, I think I almost go Jordan Love there. But I'd probably still say Jalen Hurts. But it's a lot closer in that regard. But either way. That concludes Jordan Love, I believe. And now, that was the warm-up for what I believe will be kind of a tower battle with the next QB who had an excellent rookie season, CJ Stroud. Best rookie season we've seen in a hot minute from QB. How far does that take him? And we kind of can speed through the first few rounds if y'all want to. If y'all want to talk about Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud a little bit, then you can. But I think we can just give our thumbs up. And if y'all want to talk about something, stop me. But
I mean, the jury's still out on Bryce Young, like kind of like what we said last time. I think it has to do with a bad scheme, but I think Bryce Young could succeed. And so, I mean, 2-3 years down the line, depending on what happens between these two, this could change. But right now, I mean, just comparing their first season, CJ Stroud was phenomenal with I would argue, not a great, team around them. Got to the playoffs, did good. And, but yeah, when you think of superstar wide receivers, you don't really think of what the Texans had this year, but he worked with what he had and did fantastic at it. Granted, he was in a lackluster division, but still, I mean, that's impressive.
So is Bryce Young, to be honest with you.
That's true.
All right. Next up, of course, Derek Carr. 3, 2, 1. I thought you were about to put thumbs down there for a second, Trey. Come on.
I really like Derek Carr too. It's a shame.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just that he's not the QB I guess a lot of people really thought he was going to be. Matthew Stafford makes it a little bit more interesting, but 3, 2, 1. Think the same conversation kind of goes with from Jordan Love versus Matthew Stafford, but to a better extent for CJ Stroud. Baker Mayfield. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. I just think CJ Stroud's highs and his consistency is way better than Baker Mayfield. Love Baker. He might be a lot better than next year, but CJ Stroud's got that fire to him. He's got that dog in him. All right, I believe we start getting interesting here. CJ Stroud versus Tua. I'm looking at Trayton specifically. 3, 2, 1. All right, go ahead. You're on the stand.
So regular season wise, CJ Stroud I guess even regular season wise, they were pretty similar. But like I said earlier with Tua, when we did Jordan Love, Tua's got that experience. Now he had a much better team, and although he couldn't beat the hard opponents, I still think Tua would be my guy, just because that extra experience, that extra pocket presence. I mean, CJ Stroud is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I'm taking Tua if I got 1 year to win the Super Bowl.
Ben, anything to add to that, or?
No, I mean, it's the same thing as Love for me.
Fair. No, I agree. And I don't know. Again, the same thing about Tua I said last time, really. Next up, Trevor Lawrence. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. I don't know. This one's really, really close. I'm sure we're going to have a similar conversation with Justin Herbert. I think I still take Lawrence just because Man, I really don't know why. It's kind of my gut just saying. Do y'all have anything to kind of include here? I really don't have a tangible thing to say.
No, I mean, I think it's the same reasoning as Love. It's just a whole lot marginally closer because I know that CJ is a great leader. But it's still for the same reasons as Love.
Yeah, that's valid.
I like Trevor Lawrence I picked Trevor Lawrence over or Jordan Love, but CJ Stroud was just something special this year. Trevor Lawrence couldn't really get it together like he did last season, and I don't think that's all his fault. But he had better receivers this year with Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley quietly had a pretty good season. Wasn't the hype that was expected when he moved to Jacksonville, but I really like Stroud. Did great with I know I'm just beating around the bush here, but he did great with what he had, and so I'm taking CJ Stroud over D-Law.
I mean, Stroud's first year is better than any of Trevor Lawrence's first years, right? Or sorry, any of Lawrence's years. I mean, like last year was his best year, but even then, I think Stroud still had a significantly better season than what Lawrence had. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not looking at the stats, but it just feels like Stroud had like a monumental season, while Trevor Lawrence's last season was like a step in the right direction. Like we love seeing that, but so it's kind of weird saying we take Lawrence over Stroud, but I don't know. It's a gut feeling. Stroud has one more good year like that. I feel like it definitely goes to Stroud though. Next up though, goofball. 1 year to win though. 1 year to win, but I think we're starting to get to the interesting ones. 3, 2, 1. I was close to it, Tratham. What do you think?
It really goes back to experience. Jared Goff been in the Super Bowl, did great in the playoffs this year. And CJ Stroud just doesn't have that. Plus, Jared Goff, I know CJ Stroud had a phenomenal year, but so did Jared Goff. And, I mean, everything's, going in the right direction for the Lions. And I think Dan Campbell's rebuilt Jared Goff's career, really. Because, I mean, he started falling off in L.A., and then they did the trade. And, Dan Campbell has turned him into a fantastic quarterback. And so I'm going to take Jared Goff.
I was tempted. I almost feel like Jared Goff. The reason why I decided Jared Goff was similar to the reasoning I had with Tua, but not like in that same. It's the same vein where Jared Goff fits very well in that Lions system right now, and it's a lot of the players working together, and not just it's Jared Goff being a system QB, and system QB is used in a good way in this sentence. By the way, I know a lot of people use system QB as a bad way. I think it's a compliment to be a system QB because Tua, it works for him. I don't know. I'm not confident if Tua went to the Texans he would do well, but he works well in the Miami system, and that's good. I feel like Goff has finally gotten used to the Dan Campbell Lions system, and I feel like I just don't know if he could work almost anywhere else. I feel like he'd be fine anywhere else, but I feel like CJ Stroud is so dynamic and adaptable to a Texans team that was kind of had to adapt over the season with losing receivers, having changing up running backs, sometimes coming from behind, sometimes leading ahead. It feels like he was able to adapt. While I think Jared Goff is either like you got to go this way and that's it. So that's why I lean Stroud. But if I'm in a system like the Lions, I probably would say Goff. All right. Move on to Justin Herbert. 3, 2, 1. All right, Trace. Different again.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I really like Justin Herbert. But ever since that first year, he's just kind of been stagnant. I mean, obviously he's shown glimpses and stuff. And that could be, like I said, his scheme. I mean, he could be a constant 10-win quarterback every year. But if we're going off based on just CJ Stroud's dominant year and Herbert's, Maso Mano seasons, I'm going to have to take Stroud.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I just feel like Justin Herbert has such a presence on that field. That's why I'm kind of leaning there. Plus the leadership, I feel like Justin Herbert has good leadership and has developed a lot, while CJ Stroud still is in that developing phase with that. So, yeah. All right, Dak Prescott. I feel like you already know y'all's answer for this one, but 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I'm gonna take Stroud on that one. I think that's when Dak's. I think the gap between Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. I think we can all pretty much agree CJ Stroud's a better Jordan Love. This was both their first actual seasons. CJ Stroud performed better. I feel like Dak lies right in the middle of that. I feel like CJ Stroud has the great regular season, and he has had a good postseason. He has good experience, while Dak, I feel like, has a limited ceiling that I'd rather have CJ Stroud's minorly worse consistency, I guess, because we haven't seen enough sample size. But otherwise, we have one more QB and Jalen Hurts. I'm curious of y'all's question here, because in 3, 2, 1. All right, Ben, what do you think?
I mean, it's all good and fine. He had a good season, but I'm not gonna take him over Jalen Hurts at this time. He's gonna have to do more. He's gonna have to do less. I'm just not taking. No.
Fair, okay, Tracy.
Jalen Hurts just kind of fell off at the end of the season, along with his team. I feel like I don't want to blame it all on the coaching, but I know there was talks of firing him. But they did choose to stick with him, which I'm happy about for the Eagles. But C.J. Stroud was a monster. Uh, I mean, he really was, and he beat a pretty good Browns team. Granted, an injury-ridden Browns team that was led by Joe Flacco, but and I mean he stomped them. So I'm gonna have to go C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I think this one I'm going with the momentum that Stroud has versus Hurts. It feels like for a QB like Hurts, again, I think he's going to do fine. I feel like he's almost going to have a lackluster year or two before he gets back in the rhythm again. Just because it feels like that Eagles team, I guess was, it feels like this Eagles team was as good as it's going to get last year and this year. I guess I feel like they're only going to get worse from here, and I guess we saw that near the end of it. But granted, that's talking about the whole Eagles team. In terms of Hurts, it just feels like he was off all season, even a little bit, and I don't know how much is on him. I'd rather have the momentum that CJ Stroud has with him into next season than Jalen Hurts. Now, yeah, it's a very curious conversation. Trayton, out of curiosity, do you think that there's any QBs of like the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, that you would take that you would take Stroud over, or do you feel like those three are pretty untouchable? I feel like I'm missing a couple QBs to be honest with you that could be in that conversation.
Yeah, I would take all three of those over C.J. Stroud.
So not getting too overhyped, but do you think he's a top 5 QB? Can you think of like two others that you can that you? No, I'm just asking because I don't think Trayton didn't really say no to Stroud too much here.
Um, it really just depends on the week. I mean, sometimes I'd put Jalen Hurts top 5, like beginning of the season, and then other times he just looks lackluster. Um, I'm not really sure. I think based off this year, yes, C.J. Stroud was a top 5 QB, but it's all going to hinge on next season.
Gotcha. You know, I feel like he's an easy top 10, but I don't think he's quite in that definite top 5 conversation. I feel like if this was a tier ranking thing, I put Jalen Hurts and CJ Stroud right next to each other and say that if you pick one or the other, I'm okay with that type of deal. But interesting. All right, cool. That is the end of it all right there. Boom, bada, bing. Thank you all for watching this edition of our Who Would You Take? We may do a wide receiver edition, running back edition, who knows, in the future. Maybe we'll do 2 different QBs or whatever. But thank you guys for watching. StraightA, out.